In this video, we're going to be talking about my own personal workout and how I've taken my gym workout and adapted it to be an at-home workout. I thought this might be something that would be possibly beneficial to some of you out there who may be struggling on how to adapt your gym workout to a home workout, or if you're trying to think of exercises that you can swap in for exercises that you don't have equipment for. And so if you're just kind of stuck and trying to think of the best ways to swap things out, I thought this might be helpful to some of you guys out there. The all-out garage gym setup video is still coming. The reason why I've decided to go ahead and postpone that is simply because everything is completely out of stock right now. I was still making those videos about Rep Fitness last week because they were taking pre-orders for their restock, but now even they have paused orders and everything is looking like it's going to be May, the end of April, May, and some companies even June before things are back in stock. So I've decided to take that video and postpone it for a couple weeks until we get closer to May, and then I will still make that video at that time, but I'm just kind of postpone it. That way when the video comes out, you actually will have a chance to get some of the stuff that I talk about in that video. So if we take a look at the screen on the right hand side, we have what I was actually doing at the gym. So this is what I was doing previously before all the shutdowns. And then on the left hand side is what I'm currently doing for my at-home workout. And so there's a few notes that I do want to touch on before we get into the actual exercise changes. On the previous workout, this was a 5-day per week. It was an upper-lower split with an accessory day for day 5. So we had upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, and then an accessory day. And I'm not going to get too in-depth on this just because it would make the video too long. But what I will say is that this program right here, I've spent probably the last couple years playing with my workout, trying to find the way that I enjoyed it the most and the way it would get me the best results. And what I've settled on is this. This has been what I've been doing for about the past 6 months. So this is kind of the final form, if you will. And this is actually not something that I would typically program for a client or would necessarily recommend. So there are some specific choices that I've made in terms of preference and schedule availability and that kind of thing. And for those of you who have been around the channel for a while, you know that I have off again, on again back problems that are mostly better now. But that said, all of those factors have kind of played a role in how this workout has been set up. And this workout, while it's not necessarily something that I would program for someone else, based on all the things that I'm trying to work around, this workout has actually gotten me the absolute best results that I've gotten, the fastest results that I've gotten in the last 7 or 8 years. So I've been working out for 9 or 10 years at this point, and outside of those beginner gains where you're immediately just blowing up, this workout right here has gotten me the fastest results outside of those beginner gains that I've ever gotten. So I actually throw a picture up on the screen that are 4 months apart. And then on top of that, my deadlift numbers are going up. My bench numbers are going up. So all of that to say, this workout has been getting me the best results that I've gotten in a very, very long time. So if you do want to hear why I have this set up the way that it is and kind of the specific circumstances around this workout, then let me know in the comments. I'll definitely be sure to make that video for you in the future if you're interested. And so again, here we have a upper lower split with an accessory day on the end. And then on this side, we have a 5-day per week full body workout. Now, one of the reasons why I have made it a full body workout is really just to save time. So what I have available to work with here is I have adjustable dumbbells, I have a curl bar, I have resistance bands, and an adjustable bench. And the adjustable dumbbells take a little while to move around. And then if I need to move where the resistance bands are anchored to on the door, that takes time. So I've kind of spread out the things that involve moving stuff around as much as possible, so that way I can leave the equipment stationary as much as possible and not have to change the weight on the dumbbells as much as possible. So I've basically just written this out. The main focus here was basically just to save time, because the first couple weeks that I was doing this workout, it was taking way too long to do it. So I've kind of iterated on this workout several times. And with that being said, if you see something in this workout, if you would do something different, let me know down in the comments. I'm actually open to suggestions. If you see something in here that you would do differently, let me know down in the comments, and I might actually take that suggestion and implement it in the workout. So another thing to point out here is my parents actually have a squat rack and a barbell available. So I am working out in their basement twice per week. And since I'm kind of limiting the number of days that I'm over there, that's why I've stacked all of these barbell exercises onto these 2 days. And it's not exactly perfect. I would not program it like this if there were any other way around it. So I definitely wouldn't put Romanian deadlift the day before deadlift, but at the same time, I also don't want to do deadlifts before or after squats, since that would aggravate my back. And Romanian deadlifts, since they're a little bit lighter and I'm doing them with a little bit higher reps, it's not quite an issue. So this, these guys right here, this is not quite as optimal as I would like it to be, but that's just kind of what we have to work with at the moment. You'll also notice that there are gaps. So I have some things paired together followed by gaps. And so that basically signifies that this is a superset and this is a circuit. So these things are performed together and then followed by a gap, and then you start the next thing. So bench would be performed by itself, and then chest supported row and floor press as a superset, then a gap, and then this is performed as a circuit. So this is how I would do it in my normal workout, and so that's what the gaps mean. And then that you'll also notice that things are color coded. So I have my main push movements, my main pull movements, my main leg movements, and then the accessory stuff. So getting into the actual swaps, so bench top set followed by regular bench sets. I just moved that straight over. I am still doing the top set, but I just left it as one blank in the workout. And so then I would take my chest supported row machine, don't have one of those. So what I did was I moved that over to day 4, and it became an incline dumbbell row. And then floor press came over here as pin press, which technically I could have continued to do a floor press simply because, all you need is a bar and the floor. But the reason why I changed it over to a pin press is because it's a very similar movement. It serves kind of the same purpose, but I don't have to lay in the dirty basement floor for this one. So that's why I swapped that out for that. And then machine preacher curl has come over to day 4 as incline preacher curl. So that is a dumbbell exercise. And then you basically take your incline bench, you set it up almost to vertical, put your backs of your arms on the bench, and then you do your preacher curl like normal. And then reverse pec deck, that came over here as band pull aparts. And that's actually one that has changed multiple times. I actually just changed this exercise yesterday. And it originally was pulled over as a reverse band fly with the band anchored to the door, but I really just wasn't a huge fan of how those felt. So yesterday I tried band pull aparts instead, and I do like those better. So that's how that ended up there. And then lateral raise, of course, that's a dumbbell exercise. So it was just able to come over just as itself, lateral raise. And then overhead rope tricep extension came over as a lying tricep extension with an easy bar. And then on day 2, deadlift came over on day 2, and then cable kickback also came over as itself. So my parents have one of those old school, like all-in-one gyms. It's not the smoothest thing ever, so I may actually swap out the cable kickbacks for resistance band kickbacks, but that's to be determined. And then GHD, that came over as Romanian deadlift. There's a couple different ways you can use the GHD. I was actually using it as a hip hinge, so I was keeping my legs mostly straight and then bending at the waist. So I brought that over as a Romanian deadlift instead. And then ab crunch machine brought that over as a, dumbbell reverse crunch. And so that's the one where you keep the dumbbell between your feet and you kind of curl it into your torso as you're sitting on a bench. I'll throw videos of all these up on the screen so they'll make sense. And then lying leg curl came over as lying resistance band leg curl. And this is actually one of the few exercises with resistance bands that I thoroughly enjoy. I use resistance bands out of necessity, but I don't necessarily love using them. But this is one of the exceptions. I love this exercise right here. And then straight leg calf machine came over as a barbell donkey calf raise, which is essentially the same movement if you look at them side by side. So your waist is bent to a 90 degree and then your legs are straight. I really love donkey calf raises because you get that really good stretch at the bottom of the exercise. And then on day 3, I brought over standing dumbbell overhead press over to day 3 as a seated Arnold press. And normally you could just do this exact exercise at home if you have dumbbells, in which if you don't have dumbbells, one quick note there is one thing that you can use for weight is you can do a gallon water jugs. A gallon of water weighs 8.34 pounds, and most people can hold at least, I would say, at least 2 water jugs in your hand at a time. And I would venture to say most people could actually hold 3 water jugs in their hand at a time. So if you're holding 3 water jugs, that's actually 25 pounds per hand. And which, if you're an advanced lifter, that's probably still a little bit too easy for you for most exercises. But you can then just go ahead and increase the reps as well to make sure that the exercise is sufficiently difficult. So the reason why I have not just brought this exercise straight over is because we have 7-foot ceilings in this house. So I would be hitting the ceiling with the dumbbells if I were to do a standing press. And then for weighted pull-ups, brought that straight over to day 2 as weighted pull-ups. And then machine incline press came over just as a barbell incline press. So these two are staying as a superset, pulled them straight over here. And then low pulley cable fly came over as a pec deck. So my parents don't actually have a pec deck machine, but what they do have is, like I said, that all-in-one gym. It has that old school butterfly style chest fly. So what I've been doing is basically grabbing the pads and bringing them in as if it were a pec deck. So it's not the best solution in the world, but I am enjoying the exercise. And of course, the other couple options that you could use if you don't have the all-in-one gym, which I'm assuming most people don't, is you could do a dumbbell fly, you could do a resistance band fly. So there's a couple different options that you could do there if you don't have that at your disposal. And then for a double Bayesian curl, so if you're not familiar with the Bayesian cable curl, it's where the cable, you have a low cable behind you, and then so your arm is behind your torso, so you get that nice good stretch. And then the double just means you're doing both arms at the same time. And so if you look at an incline curl, it's actually very similar. So you're leaning back, your arms are behind you, so you get that nice good stretch on your biceps. And so that's why I've swapped that in for the double Bayesian curl. And then for the rope push down, swap that out for a lying dumbbell tricep extension. And then lateral raise, again, just comes over as lateral raise. And so the reason why I have this listed as lateral raise 27s is because previously what I was doing for this one is lateral raise 21s. So if you're not familiar with what that is, so you're doing 7 reps with the bottom half of the range of motion, then you're doing 7 reps with the top half of the range of motion, and then you're doing 7 full range of motion reps for a total of 21 reps. And so the reason why I have it listed here as 27s is simply because I've progressed the exercise. So I went from 777, brought that up to 888, so it was 24s, and then now I'm doing 999, so it's lateral raise 27. So that in case you didn't know what that meant, that's what that is. And then lastly, hammer curl, brought that straight over as hammer curl, of course, since I do have dumbbells. And then on day 4, brought squats over as squats, dumbbell lunge over as dumbbell lunge, dumbbell step-ups over as dumbbell step-ups. I brought cable crunch over as arms extended crunch. So you could do this exercise with a resistance band, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. So instead of doing that, I swapped it out for a weighted arms extended crunch. And then for the hip abduction machine, I brought it over as band hip abductions, but actually what I did yesterday was a dumbbell hip abduction. So basically what you do is you just hold the dumbbell in your hand against the outside of your leg, and then you just still do the lateral raise with your leg for the hip abduction motion. And I'm unsure on which one I like better. I still have it listed as band hip abduction, but I actually did really like doing it with the dumbbell yesterday, so I'm not 100% sure on which way I'm going to go with that. But I'm for now going to leave it listed as a band hip abduction. And then lastly, seated calf raise. I brought this over as a barbell standing calf raise. So in an ideal world, I would just take the barbell donkey calf raise and do that again on day 2. Because with the barbell calf raise, that's just me standing on the ground. There's no elevation of my feet, so I'm not getting a full range of motion with these. And the reason why I've not brought the barbell donkey calf raises over for day 2 as well is simply because it takes a long time to set up for. And this workout is already probably my longest workout of the week with the deadlifts in there. And so what I would have to do in order to do donkey calf raises with the barbell is you have to set the pins up staggered so that the bar is at an angle. You have to load the bar up, have all the pins or all the clips on there to keep the weight from sliding off the low end. I have to get the plyometric box, sit it down in the middle, put the band pegs down, and put the band over the top of the box so that it doesn't want to flip because I'm standing on that one side. So there's a lot of setup involved for this exercise. And by the time I set up for this exercise, do this exercise, and then break it back down so that, you know, I don't just leave my parents' stuff laying in their basement floor for them to have to clean up, it's probably 15 minutes just for calf raises, 20 minutes just for calf raises. So I really don't want to have to do that at the end of my longest workout. So while this isn't optimal, it's just kind of, you know, helping me to maintain until I get back to the gym. And then lastly, on day 5, most of this was brought straight over as is. So plate neck curl. This one was swapped out. So I was doing cable neck extension, brought that over for a plate neck extension. And then Smith machine shrug, brought that over as a barbell shrug. I really do prefer Smith machine shrugs over barbell shrugs, but that's not an option right now. So that's what I'm doing. And then I have close grip incline bench, brought that over as dumbbell incline close grip bench, and then incline dumbbell row just comes straight over as incline dumbbell row. And you'll notice that I was doing these two as a superset, but with this workout, I've split them apart. And the reason for that is simply because since I'm using dumbbells for both of these and I'm not using the same amount of weight for these two exercises, I don't want to have to swap the weight out for these between each set. So it takes me about a minute to swap the weight out. And so by the time I took that weight, swapped it out, did the next exercise, swapped it out again to do the first exercise, it's not a superset anyway. So, I mean, you're taking a full minute rest in between each set. It's no longer a superset. So I would rather just do this exercise, do all of them, all the sets, then swap the weight out one time, and then do all the sets for this one. And then the last couple ones I have right here, floor lying tricep extension came straight over as floor lying tricep extension, and then lateral raise at an RPE of 9. So with this one exercise, it's the one exercise where I'm actually not aiming for a specific rep target. I'm actually just going until I'm 1 rep away from failure. And so I brought that straight over right here. And then the one other change is this one was not in this workout at all. This is actually something that I added. And if you're not familiar with BFR, that's blood flow restriction. And if you're not familiar with what blood flow restriction training is, I actually have a video explaining the concept of blood flow restriction. I'll link it up in the corner for you to check out. And blood flow restriction is actually a strategy that I would definitely recommend you to use specifically right now if you don't have a lot of equipment available. So maybe you just have some old light dumbbells that are was in the back of the closet and that's all that you have to work with. So you have maybe a set of 10s or a set of 20s, but you're way past that in your level of advancement. Blood flow restriction will actually allow you to use a lighter weight and still get a similar muscle growth stimulus as if you were using a little bit heavier of a weight. So make sure to check that video out if you're in that situation. That's something that you might want to look into. And that's the whole workout. Hopefully, if you are one of those people like I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, you are in that situation where you're having a little bit of trouble determining what exercises to swap out for what. Hopefully seeing what I've done with my workout has given you some ideas. And then again, like I said at the beginning, if you have things that you would have swapped out differently than what I've swapped out, then definitely make sure to let me know that, and I might incorporate that in my workout as well. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hate it, give it a thumbs down. If you want more content just like this, consider subscribing, or you can check out one of the videos that will be up on the screen. You can also check us out on the Treadaway Training Blogcast. We're there every Sunday at 3 p.m. That's treadawaytraining.com/blog. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you tomorrow. Wash your hands.